Hello, students. We are going to study today the third chapter. It is about the early modern state. It means that there were changes in the political system, in the way that the monarchs governed after Middle Ages. In this chapter, we are studying three aspects of the early modern state: the change on politics, the economy recovery, and social changes. The first of those aspects, the authoritarian monarchies, it means that there were changes in the political way of ruling, because during Middle Ages, it was a kind of political system considered feudal monarchies in which the king's power was limited. Why was it limited? Because the nobility and clergy had power inside their fiefs, but almost the king had no power. So the change in politics is that in the modern period, the kings start having a kind of or a type of government called authoritarian monarchies. It consisted on that the king's power becomes unlimited, and it becomes unlimited because the king reinforced their authority and power, making weaker the power of others, making weaker the power of nobles, of clergy, of parliaments, and the power of cities. The power of the kings was stronger because of a number of reasons. The first of them is that the kings got their administration to be more centralized. It was got by having professional civil servants, which are funcionarios profesionales al servicio del rey, and given that the king was able to call or to name high public posts, it gave him big power. The second reason is that the king established the court in one city. He or they, or in all Europe, started having a main city, the capital. The third reason is that the king called the parliament as little as possible. That way, he avoided giving many explanations to the people who could limit his power. The fourth reason is that limiting the autonomy of the city, sending corregidores, it meant that there was a person in every city named by the king who was above the power of the mayor of every city. The fifth reason is that king was able to have a professional army paid by him, paid by the king. So the army obeyed the king's decisions. At the same time, the nobles were not allowed to have private armies, so the king was much more stronger in case of conflict with him. The number six is that the diplomatic system. The king sent ambassadors to different courts of countries all around Europe to defend the interests of the nation in international politics. It meant at those times the interest of the king. The seventh reason of the king having more power was that the kings started introducing regular taxes. So the king had a regular income, un ingreso regular, from all the inhabitants, or almost all the inhabitants in their countries. And eighth, and last one, the last reason, the unification of territories and the enlarging of dominions by marriage or wars. The kings got more power by having bigger lands, either way, getting or winning wars or marrying with the daughter or the son of somebody else, of any other king in Europe. The authoritarian monarchies were not established all around Europe at all. They were in the three main countries at those times: France, England, and Spain. In the pictures, we have examples of the kings. In the right up corner, we have the Catholic monarchs and the Charles I. The two first were of the Trastámara dynasty, and their grandson, Charles I, Carlos I, began a different dynasty in Spain, the Arbus dynasty. In the second example, we have the Henry VIII. He was from the Tudor dynasty in England. He was famous because killing many of his wives. And in the case of France, Francisco I from the dynasty of Valois. The other two countries that you could suppose that they had this kind of government were Germany and Italy, but they were not united by a single king. They were united in the much later, in the 19th centuries. We are moving to the second part of this chapter, the economic recovery. It was a period of economic prosperity, and the cause is pointed here in colors because there were less epidemics, there was an increasing in population. Having more inhabitants in Europe provoked having more demand for agriculture and craft products, and altogether improved the economy. The economy labors were agriculture, craftwork, artesanía, and trading, comercio. About agriculture, as it always had been, was the basis of the economy. About the craftwork, we have to remark that there was a new way of producing, a part of the traditional one given in the guilds that they control very much the production, the quality, the prices, the timetables, the hour they had to work, and it was the domestic system. It consisted on an entrepreneur, someone having a company, a merchant, who was a wealthy person. He provided raw material and tools, materias primas y herramientas, to a poor person, a peasant, who made the product at home. And after having done product, the investor, that wealthy person, took the finished products to sell them in the markets. And trading, there were many changes given the new trade routes in Africa, Asia, and America. The most important ports in Europe before the discoveries were settled or located in the Mediterranean, but with the discoveries they lost importance, while the ones in the Atlantic grew in importance, important or remarkable ports such as Sevilla and Lisbon. Banks, credit and currency exchanges developed, and it meant the foundation for a capitalist economy. Thanks to this map, we are able to check that the Atlantic ports were much better to do trading with all around the world than the Mediterranean Sea ports that were the traditional important ports. And the third part of this chapter is the social changes. The society was still hierarchical. It means that still existed the privileged people, which was a minority, and the non-privileged people, who was the most of the population. But the economic changes brought social changes too. The nobility and higher clergy, la nobleza y el alto clero, they were still the most important class because they kept the most of their privileges and they had the highest positions in government and army. We had a more powerful middle class, the bourgeois. They grew in number and in wealth. They were richer. Given that they had economic assistance to kings, they demanded more privileges from the kings, saying, if me or I or we, the middle class, are paying taxes to the king, they claimed the king to give them more rights. The third, the peasants, they were set free from serving others, and they started working in exchange of a wage. Empezaron a trabajar a cambio de un salario.